Hey gang, I think I might have just started broadcasting in an unfortunate moment because I have a little bit of housekeeping to attend to. Believe it or not, the sun is shining this afternoon. We haven't seen the sun in 3 or 4 days here in North Carolina. But the sun is shining through the back of my canvas, which is not a good development. So bear with me for just a minute. I'm going to lower this umbrella and see if I can. No, that's not going to do it. Okay, hang on. I'm going to lower it. Oh, that's all the way down. Okay. Hang on. We have other tricks up our sleeve. I do have a system for this, by the way. If you whoa, it's too windy for that. In my van, which is parked 1 block away from here, I have several sheets of black plastic and a staple gun so that I can, in fact, staple. Let me see what happens here. Am I close? Pardon?
I said it warmed up for you, but you're in the shade.
Exactly. Well, I've got sun coming through the back of the canvas.
Oh.
What a bad.
Yeah, really. But it's actually so much warmer than it was.
It is. Yeah, it's quite nice. Well, did you buy anything? Take a bookmark, please.
I'm gonna pay you for it.
No.
Yes.
A whole $1. What's $1 between friends?
Well, maybe I want to buy 2.
There you go. You may have 2 for free too.
That's not right, though. I got $2.
Okay.
You just don't want to. If I don't have $2, you don't want to have me make change. Or you have to make change.
That's right. Here, well, I might have change.
I don't know if I. Well, I don't even know what I've got here.
Well,
Oh, I see $1.
if you don't have $1, you just take it for nothing then.
I got $1. Let me see if I got
Thank
another
you.
one. Oop, there's another one. You know,
Aren't we just a couple of high rollers?
well, you know,
Thank you. Thank
we
you.
tend to give our stuff away. You know.
Well, I really do give these away.
Oh, I know you are. I mean, I know. But for $1, that's a giveaway. But you gave me one a couple of years ago.
Did I? Oh, good.
Well, when
I was already nice once.
Well, when I bought your paintings.
Yeah.
I do have 2 of you guys.
Yes, you do. Thank you.
I make sure to point it out. And last year before the hurricane, I went around and videoed all my art, because that's the only thing in my house that's valuable. And so now this is a Dan Nelson. This piece was retail for.
That's right. There you go.
So, good seeing you.
Great to see you, Janie. All right, so I still have a little bit of light coming through the back. Let me see what I can do about that. Oh, I have here this is not very good. I'm not sure I can do anything about it, to tell you the truth. And what you know, right when I started broadcasting, it's right when the sun came up and started shining through the back. Hang on. I just realized I think I have a garbage bag down here. I do. All right, hang on again. I tell you, hang on. I think I have a garbage bag, and I think I have a staple gun. I do. Let's see if it has staples in it. It does. All right, let's do this the easy way then. You guys get to watch the whole crazy operation here. pretty close. Oh, the things we do for love. And by the way, for those any of you that do plein air painting, this is one of the benefits of painting on a panel instead of a stretched canvas. If you're painting on an opaque, Durobond or whatever those aluminum or canvas boards are called. That is one of the distinct advantages if you're doing plein air, is they're opaque. And as I said, I do have in my van, I have a number of sheets of black plastic already cut to standard sizes. There we go, all fixed. Yahoo! You really cannot paint. You really cannot paint with light coming through the back of your canvas. It ruins all of your judgments.
Hey, Dave.
Hello. Good.
I've never seen that on the back of a canvas.
I know it. I was just rejoicing that I have a staple gun and a garbage bag.
Does that just keep the wind from blowing around the canvas so bad?
Pardon?
Does that just keep the wind from blowing the canvas around?
No, the sun was coming through the back of the canvas, and so I couldn't see the color. So I just stapled a garbage bag to the back of the. Hello, Anne.
Hi there. I knew you were here when I saw this set up.
Yeah. Good to see
And
you.
you too, Thomas. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah. Have you been outside painting all week?
Yeah.
Not all
Yeah, it
week.
was raining Friday, and I was out here, and it was cold yesterday.
I don't know how
This is balmy compared to you. Did you miss me?
I did.
Oh.
You know me, I can't stay away, so I've been here
That's-
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And
Me
I'm so
too.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. So I just switched over to oil. I just did a glaze on top of that. Now I'm going to, I think, draw with transparent dark colors. Wait, I'm thinking about that. Well, hey, Izzy. Oh, my grandchildren are here. What fun. Good to see you guys.
Well, are you quitting at 3 like everyone else? Or are you going
Pardon?
Are you quitting at 3 like everyone
Yeah,
else?
I'm not on the dot, but yeah, I'll start packing up shortly thereafter.
Well, I was very good today. I didn't spend.
Oh,
Oh yeah, but you don't know what happened
I made up for you. What you sold on, what you bought on Friday and Saturday?
Friday and Saturday. Well, it was empty.
Good to see you, Ann. All right, I debated for a second whether I might do glow right now, but there's already quite a bit of glow there, so I don't think I'm going to. Instead, I'm going to draw as I first intended, and with dark-ish colors. I'm trying to mix up a dark purple red at the moment, but not too clean. Let's add a little bit of raw umber to that, so it's kind of a little bit bluer. There we go. Hello, Lake. Hey, sweetie.
Hi there. How are you? Good. Splendid too. Very splendid. Yep. We have lunch for you. and
Oh, okay.
We want to start eating soon. Can you join us in the car?
Yeah,
Great.
I can.
Sit in the passenger front.
All right.
Very back seat,
That means I have to take a break.
Well, that means I'll go get started on this one.
Great to see you.
You too,
Bless
man.
you. All right, gang. Sorry about that. So you just saw a whole bunch of not much. Well, somebody might have benefited from watching that little episode with the garbage bag stapled to the back of the canvas. That might have been instructive for somebody. But my wife and grandchildren have just shown up with lunch. So guess what? Guess what? They get top billing. They get priority. Sorry to abandon you so quickly. I'll pause the broadcast. There's a wrought iron fence right here, wrought iron gate. All right, sorry to leave you, but I'm gonna be back shortly, I hope. Bye-bye. What? No, from where? Oh my goodness! I knew, Ellen. Good to see you. No, I did not. I did not. I'm so sorry. Very good.
Man,
good to see you. Thank you.
You changed a bit.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, I saw the van. I was like, that's the same color we drove to New York.
That's funny. Very good, man. How are you?
Busy.
You working hard?
Yeah. I moved from Raleigh to, well, I'm in Nightdale, but
okay.
I moved my studio to Cary. So I'm in Cary, been there for a few years now. So,
okay.
But, yeah.
Excellent.
I gotta look a little bit like an older Blair Ligon for a second. So, but
what
getting a lot
fun.
of work done, it looks like it.
Well, you know, if you're busy, you're busy. That's good. And if you're not busy, you're even more busy.
That's right.
Trying to make busy. Yeah.
That's right. Make yourself busy.
It's exactly right. Man,
nice, fun, vicious
good
circle.
to see you. So you're not at Art Space. You've been at Art Space for a while.
It's been several years.
Yeah.
now.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I don't get in there anymore. Otherwise, I would know. But I knew you'd been
downhill.
Has it?
Yeah, they're booting the rest of the people out next year in July, but they've found a place. They're going to move in on Blake Street. You know where the farmers market is?
Yeah.
That set of studios that they had for a while there. It goes all the way through to the middle walkway.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of studios there. 11 people, Paris, Eric, Judy, a ton of people just rented all those spaces, and they're going to rent it and start a
good for them.
Good for them. Space right
and what's Art Space going to do?
Who knows? Mary Pool's kind of out there. We don't know.
They kind of ran it into the ground, didn't they?
They did. They wanted it to be about programs. Basically, took it away from the artists. You know, but
was it partly? Did they want artsy? Did they want edgy?
I think it's more. Well, they did, but it wasn't paying the bills.
No, of course not.
Because
hey, that stuff never pays the bills.
Yeah.
Government pays to pay for support that crap all the time.
A lot of those guys and gals usually are straight out of college.
Yeah.
They can't stay there and work, so they have to get a job and stuff. So which we all did. We got a job. But it's just it ain't what it used to be. So and it doesn't matter where you're at, as long as you're busy painting, selling. That's all. I want to paint.
Well, I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to know you're in Nightdale. We're out 401, so we're not far from you. Straight down Forestville Road to Nightdale.
I know where you. Yeah, I know where you live. Yeah, so I got lost in that development that one time.
Yeah.
You live in a big development. So.
Great to see you.
Nice to see you, Dan.
Bless you.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you. All right, I think I'm still broadcasting. Take that picture.
It is coming so nice. Love
Thank you.
All right.
All right. My interruptions have interruptions. There, David. All right, maybe I can paint for a little while. Not that it wasn't an absolute delight to see my wife and kids. Oh man, that breeze is still breezy, blowing down back. I didn't imagine how much I would treasure this this hood on the back of this, because when the wind's coming from the back, the hood makes all the difference. Oh, not that one. You don't mean this one, David? This one here? I think, well, what I think is probably going on is the drawing is still abstract enough that you can't quite tell. Oh, up here, up there, that's just a tree. Well, like I said, I think the painting is just so abstract you can't tell what's what yet. It's called poor drawing because it's still kind of preliminary. So little by little, I think it'll tighten up and we'll be able to tell what's what. I'm about to lose my in-ear monitor, unfortunately, but not too bad. I'll still have a iPad monitor letting me know. Okay, time to get this. There's a car here. So the event here ends in about half an hour at 3 o'clock Eastern time. And at that time, I'll start packing up shortly thereafter. I'll stick around for a little while because I imagine there'll be a bit of an exodus. And I'll have a few last minute visits with folks as they head out. Music's just a little loud, isn't it? Whoops, now it's a little soft. Thank you. Come on. Bear with me a minute here. I need to, on this phone, I have some photographs of this property. I need to pull it up so I can see a little more carefully what's actually going on there. It's a little bit hard to tell because there's sort of like a canopy down here. I'm outlining right now in purple simply because it's a dark color. And I'm using purple instead of a neutral tone like dark black, which you hear me talk about occasionally, B-L-E-C-K, dark black. Simply because the purple, of course, introduces more color to the painting than a dirty color does. And generally speaking, more color is better than less color. All things being equal, which all things aren't always equal. Anyway, part of the instruction here, though, is if you are outlining with any given color, like purple, then it's a good idea to switch over at some point from purple, let it evolve, let it migrate from one color to another, so you get introduce a variety of colors into the underpainting. And yes, all of this, in my book, this is still considered underpainting. Pardon me while I flip through this some of these photographs, looking for details that I can't see in my printed version. There we go. Even though in some respects my approach to painting is reminiscent of the old masters in that it is layers and layers of transparent, finishing with thicker and more opaque paint. Even though it's my painting is reminiscent of that, I have at least one significant difference, and that is that my underpainting colors tend to be brighter color, and my finishing layers tend to be more muted tones. Whereas the old masters, Rembrandt and so forth, would often paint in, their underpainting would be muted. Whoops, hang on here, I need a permanent rose. Good, found it. Did not have that on my palette. Rembrandt and others, their underpaintings would be muted in tone, and then they would use more lively colors on top. I almost can't explain why I don't do it that way. Why am I in the habit of doing intense undercolor and bright undercolor and more muted on top? Well, more muted on top, that's easy to answer. The answer is because the more muted colors are more realistic. So my paintings, of course, migrate, generally speaking, from abstract toward a more representational feeling as they proceed. So the more representational then dictates more realistic color, which of course in real life is very often more muted. But I very much like the bright colors peeking through underneath. In the final product. So there's a yellow fire hydrant right there.
I give you a lot of credit.
Hey man, good to see you. Thank you very much.
Be out here in the cold.
I am dressed warmly. This is the warmest of the nicest by far of the 3 days.
Really.
So are you here to clean up at the end?
Of course. I've been here every day.
Have you really?
But towards the end of the day, I don't need to be here.
They make you go in and pick up money?
Of course, the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Someone
Good to
has
see you, Robert.
do it, right?
That's right. Good to see you, Robert. I miss seeing you. Good to see you. I am very well. Yeah. Anyway, there's a fire hydrant right there, yellow, warm yellow, and the sun is hitting it, and I find it particularly fetching in the grand scheme of things, in the scene. I talk about this occasionally. Good to see you. Thank you. When you're painting, normally one paints a scene that one finds appealing or attractive for some reason. That's good. So, in my case, of course, it's commission, but no, I find I took a whole bunch of pictures, and then there are some photographs that call to me, of course, more than others. And part of doing the work of doing a painting is you have to come to terms, so to speak. You have to bring up to your conscious, not just subconscious won't do. You have to become aware of exactly, specifically, technically, what are the elements in the scene, so in this case, in the photograph, that draw me into the scene? What is it that's attracting me? And it's not always easy to tell. Like many times, and in fact, I don't think normal people, so to speak, non-artists don't really do this at all. They're just influenced by a scene, and it's not their job. They're not artists. It's not their job to know why it's appealing to them. But as artists, it really helps to get out unconscious. So that's a silly little example, that there's a yellow fire hydrant right there. And unless you, again, bring it up to a conscious level, you might not realize that, oh, you know what? That little spot of yellow gold right there is, in fact, calling to me, drawing me in. I'm attracted to that. That's part of what makes the overall scene interesting or attractive to me. And here's another one. What I'm doing right at this moment. Power lines in the sky. Most people in their, non-analytical, non-visual, I should say, non-visual frame of mind, they would think, no, we don't want to put power lines are not pretty. Cities that can afford to, of course, spend a lot of money to get all the power lines underground, which of course also helps with storms and wind damage and so on. But part of the motivation, of course, is aesthetics, because generally speaking, people don't think of power lines as being particularly attractive. But as an artist, and of course in my case, I'm very aware of this, because I sometimes add power lines where there aren't any. I'm so committed to, no. Okay, so the real reason is there's a lot of sky up here, relatively speaking. A pretty big chunk, if you will, of empty blue space. So the streaks, and of course they need to be done, the streaks need to be done in an attractive manner, of course. So it's not just enough to say, oh yeah, power lines are good. No, they have to be beautiful power lines. Most people, those two phrases don't quite go together, beautiful power lines. But in fact, they will be a significant element. All right, so I've been doing whatever color this is, I've been doing it for a while. So I think it's just about time to let my color migrate. I won't clean these brushes necessarily. I will just mix in this case, a red. Let me look at that. Yeah, I'm going to add some oxide red, which is brown, to that. So it's not, I don't want it, right at the moment, I don't want too intense of a red color. I just did something that I do fairly frequently, I guess. Maybe that's too strong. I just dipped my brushes into my solvent, Gamsol. Because I want to draw long fluid lines. And if you try to make a mark like I just did right there with just paint, or just paint with even with like a liquid with a medium in it, it would never work. The line, the paint would stop coming off the brushes, long before I got halfway across that canvas. I do this a lot when I'm painting skinny branches on a tree. I want the line to last, so to speak. So that's how I just drew all of those. And by the way, I really like those in red. Glad I did that. That looks pretty good. I don't do it usually. Have done it occasionally through the years. But I am rather partial to the toned canvas. Chinese red or vermilion is the most traditional, not counting just a brown toned canvas. That's a different tradition. But I really do like the feel of a toned canvas. And what I'm doing right now by drawing with red is pretty closely related to that, because much of these marks that I'm doing right now will show through in the finished painting, and will kind of look like a bit of a toned canvas coming through that red tradition. Quick tip for anybody, if anybody's listening who in fact uses that trick, good trick, the toned canvas, the red toned canvas. So is the brown toned canvas, but that's not nearly as, what's the word, bold, right? The red toned canvas, a lot more bold. Here's a quick tip for you. I say this pretty often when I'm judging or evaluating or someone's painting, and they use that technique. Here it is. First of all, number one, typically an early journey painter, that's my terminology, you understand, for student or somebody who's fairly young in their art journey, an early journey painter who uses that technique. Number one, they typically don't leave nearly enough of the underpainting showing through. That's number one. So try to restrain yourself. Do not obliterate, do not cover up. And usually when I say that to the artist, they go, yeah, you're right. So I'm not saying something that's radical, crazy, I think most early journey painters, they recognize that fact and they say, oh yeah, I know, you're right. So that's number one. And then tip number two, and this one is, even if you screw up and violate tip number one by doing too much, tip number two is some remediation for that mistake, and that is, if you do a painting with a red, whoops, I lost my monitor here, hang on. If you do a painting with a red underpainting, hang on just a minute, I do need to get my monitor up and going. Yep, hang on, so let me change battery packs here. My iPad completely ran out of juice on me here. So if you do the cool red underpainting, when you are finishing up your painting, then one of the things you should do is, well, one of the last things you do with your canvas is mix up some light, fairly intense, opaque red paint, and go back and reintroduce that red toned canvas color, reintroduce that to the finished painting. So then you have some red that was the very first thing on your canvas, and then you have the same color red that was nearly the very last thing you put on your canvas. So that creates a momentary flicker of visual confusion in the viewer, and creates a very pleasant aesthetic buzz then. Forgive me, I'm still having a hard time getting let's make sure this battery pack's full. Yep, it's full. Hello, ma'am.
Oh, hi there.
Hello.
This guy is famous.
Here, wait, say that into the microphone. This guy. This guy is famous.
For
There you go. There you go. That's a little bit more honest.
There can't be too many of those.
No.
Well, actually, there are. Plein air.
But not that most of them not in the city though. I was talking to some people in here, and he overheard a conversation. I paint in. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
I paint in where people are,
Right.
and that's been it turns out a major marketing strategy. Because how many other artists are out in the parking lot right now? Just about every. That's exactly. Well, the same thing when I'm painting downtown Raleigh, which is average about once a week. I don't think I've ever seen another artist ever. Now, I mean, I know you have to have a screw loose to like cityscapes, but
That
helps.
is exactly what I was going to say. I knew a Chaim Richmond. He was in the Manhattan Project, and he was a physicist, and he used to go and landscape.
Out there in Tennessee, where the Manhattan Project was?
No. This was down in Los Alamos.
Okay.
I know him in California.
Got it.
And he would go and just get out into the bush.
Yeah.
That was how he got
That's
out of
most.
his
What's what most artists do.
mathematical- Yeah.
Well, I go into my.
Tell me your name. I
I'm
recognize your.
Jess.
Hi,
Jessica Webb.
Jess. Have
I'll
you
be
been-
famous one day.
Yeah. Go, Jessica. You go. You go, girl.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Good to meet you both. Thank you. Way to go. Thanks for driving the artist around.
There you go. That's my job.
Hello. That's right. I understand.
Now, I noticed what also drew me over, I paint a lot of thin line, and I never thought of using
Large brush and paint with the blade of the brush instead of the point, right?
like this.
Yeah.
And you use that to steady your arm, right?
No. I paint with two hands all the time. Yeah. That's one of my. Turns out one of my claims to fame is I paint with two hands.
With two hands. I'll see you downtown.
Good. Thank you. Good to meet you all.
I couldn't help but notice Shiva sticks.
Is that yours?
No, I wish.
Do you use them?
Yes.
What do you do with them?
I basically use them mostly for mark making.
Mark making.
Yes.
Like incorporated with a painting, with an oil painting?
Yes.
Good. What's
And
your name,
also
by the
with
way?
acrylic. Adriana.
Hi, Adriana.
Hello.
You use them with acrylic?
Yes.
Now that's going against the rules. What do you mean? You do
There's no
oil
rule.
stick with acrylics. And what happens?
Nothing. They actually seal.
Do they really?
Yes. I just have to give them 2
So
days.
I've only been using them about a year. So I feel like I'm still kind of new.
Yes.
What I use them most for is this is acrylic underpainting,
Yeah.
and then I switched to oil. So the first thing I do is I glaze the whole thing with liquid.
Nice.
So in the last year, I've started, and you can still see bits of it. Before I do the glaze, I just put random abstract.
So you're doing a chaos
Marks.
layer first, aren't you?
Yes,
Love it.
exactly. So you can still see. So there was blue, there's green, there's red. There was all colors everywhere, and they're all just completely random. Yeah.
That's how I like to work.
Now, and then we've actually dialogued with like Winsor Newton, say, okay, then when you mix liquid with it, is it going to dry? I mean, I think it does.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell.
Yeah.
I mean, 100 years, we don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
But I think it's a reasonable bet,
let the
right? Right.
The conservationists worry.
That's right. We'll be long gone. Even you, my dear.
Oh, I know. And I'm okay with that. I did want to ask you about
Yeah.
this right here. What is this magical contraption?
Okay.
I mean, I know this is an iPad. I know that's a phone.
Yeah. I'm broadcasting on YouTube. No, my monitor the battery just died, so I just.
Oh.
So there's my
Peace
camera.
sign! I'm just kidding.
So that's the camera, and this is the controller. Thank you. So I can zoom in, like I had it zoomed in, so it's just the painting pretty much right
What are
now.
you using for it?
Oh, I'm broadcasting on YouTube.
Yeah, but how?
Oh, because my.
Sorry.
That's
I'm
right.
like-
No,
I'm like
that's
one of
right.
those okay,
And then-
I'm the kind of person
That's right,
that
I'm
you
glad.
see at the museum getting
Yeah.
almost nose touching to the canvases.
That's right. That's
just
right,
like
of course.
Going all technical.
So
That's
here's,
me.
I hope this will come up. There we go. There. That's my
I didn't know
monitor.
You had a channel.
Yeah. Absolutely. I broadcast nearly every day. there you are. Yay! Here, come over here and be famous. That's fun. Thank you.
No, but seriously. So what is this?
Oh, so that's a microphone. That's this right here.
Oh,
That's what's picking up the sound.
No,
Yeah.
Sennheiser.
Sennheiser. Yeah. So that's plugged into my phone, so my
With a wireless
sound,
cord.
so we get better sound than just ambient.
So then you have to use two.
And that's just a battery pack, keeping that powered up.
What is that camera?
That's the camera.
Is it a webcam?
Yeah, it is. It's essentially a webcam.
Okay.
I'm about to upgrade to a better one of those, but
Well, I've seen
same basic
people use
idea.
the GoPros.
Right.
Being
It's like the
it's
new
similar.
GoPros you can stream to directly.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about getting one of those too. I've got an old
well, 'cause
GoPro.
They're nice and wide angle.
Exactly.
They'll
That's what this
distort
is
the
too.
painting a little bit, but you can
So
film
this is an extremely wide angle lens.
more. Mhm.
Can you see that?
Yeah. What does it connect to?
My
Like-
phone.
Yeah, but what do you have to use here so they talk to each other?
Yeah, Bluetooth.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're connected. Or no, actually, I don't know. It's Wi-Fi. I have so many Bluetooths and Wi-Fi's going on here right now.
Okay. It's okay. No, I just got curious. I was like, this is a
And then you can
magical
zoom in. You can
contraption.
zoom in, all the way down to. So that's just a picture of my photograph there.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing. Do you do a class on this? Just this?
No, I don't. I've never.
Well, maybe you should.
No,
Just
because
saying. I'd pay for it.
I screw up so many times. It's not even funny.
Well,
But
you
I am
gotta
getting
make it
better.
work Somehow.
I am making it work, and I'm getting better.
Dan, do you
So
ever
thanks
do
for
classes
asking.
with oil and cold wax?
Do I?
Yes.
No.
You don't like
I would
cold
love to do cold wax. No, but I've never done it. I don't have any experience whatsoever. It just looks like great fun.
wax? It does.
That's all. Yeah,
I
yeah.
like non-expressionist. I mean, non-representational abstract.
Yeah, yeah.
Being
yeah.
Pretty crazy on
And I do abstracts as well, non-objective stuff.
Yeah.
It's for me like for fun,
Yeah, 'cause
I mean, I
it's
sell them
liberating.
too. It is. Oh, it's great fun. In fact, just for what it's worth, like it was about 3 years ago or 4 years ago now, I guess.
Jumbo
I did a
pencil?
whole bunch of abstracts, and that's when I started using these because when you're an abstract, it's liberating. So
Yeah.
let's try something else. I liked it so much that then I began incorporating it in my representational stuff. So that's where that came from. That came from a,
Nice.
That's
the jumbo all or something. Jerry's all.
yeah, jumbo jet black.
It's like oil
And
charcoal.
and you use that with acrylics. This plays very well with both acrylic and oil. And I don't draw first and then paint. The pencils will come late in this process. That's probably the next thing I'll do. Will be pencils. Yeah, because I want the. I'm sorry I don't have them. Are you familiar with my finished work? Okay. So
Seen it at the centerpiece.
okay, yeah. Thanks.
I think you have work at the centerpiece.
Yes. Well, I've been there a lot.
And you've taught classes there.
Yes, correct. Is that where I know you from?
No.
No, that is not where I know
We've
you from.
never met.
Have we? Okay. Well,
I know about
I know
you.
there's 3,000 people in that building that know me,
How scary is that?
and exactly, and I don't, and I go, and my brain does not do faces. Figure
No,
that
you're
out.
totally fine.
Anyways, okay, so we've never met.
I got one of your DVDs that was in there.
Did you really? What?
Yes.
Wait, you
Yes.
got one of my DVDs?
Yes, I did.
Good. One of those $2 for $10. I mean, $2 each. Good.
Hey, that was a great deal.
It is a
It was
great deal.
deal.
What
Oh,
fun.
it was How to Become an Artist.
Oh, good.
you have a
The art of becoming an artist.
That's it.
Oh, good.
Well, I'm going to give it a try.
Good for you. That's right.
And then I'll be like, okay, this guy's nice. All right, I'll just like, oh, this guy's
That's exactly right. That's what we all do. You're just being honest. So do you live here in Raleigh? You must.
Clayton.
Oh, okay. Close
So
enough.
not
Semi-Raleigh.
terribly far.
Yeah.
No,
And have you been to this before?
first time.
All right. What
$1,400
fun.
down the drain. 700 on Friday.
Are you serious? Well, it's good prices.
Well, I'm giving my notice at work next week.
Are you really? You're going to try to be an artist?
Yes.
You go, give me your hand. Okay, let me pass on to you
Good
some.
energy. Good energy.
There, you take it.
I'm like this.
You go. That's right. That's right. Good for you. Good for you.
There's months where I don't even have to do a part-time job. I can just paint.
And is all your stuff abstract?
I do some
Non-objective?
I like florals,
Okay.
so I'll do florals too. I'll do dreamscapes, which is just
Okay.
fancy name for landscapes that look like whatever
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like, and non-objectives.
Good for you.
That's what I've narrowed it down to, because
Yeah.
otherwise I would paint everything. But and then acrylics, and then
Okay, so
everything
my
that
channel
goes
is
to-
Dan Nelson Art. You can find me. If you can remind me, if you can remember my name, you can find my YouTube channel. And now there's a bunch of me.
I had
there's-
narrowed down the classes in here to yours and Kim Maselli.
Really?
I ended up not taking either one of you guys because
Well, good.
I spent it on materials.
That's right. Well, I'm in good company. Thank you. I like Kim too. We go way back. And let me think. I'm going to try to remember to post. I have a one-page abstract, where I non-objective. I mean, I break non-objective art into 6 categories.
Okay.
Because I like non-objective, and I do it. It's not what I do mainly, but it's a real fun diversion. Sort of like so is hyperrealism. It's sort of like a really fun tangent for me.
Yeah.
But this is my normal.
You have a one-pager, you said?
Yes,
On
and it's 6 different categories, and I can almost give them to you. There's material-focused abstract painting. That's where the artist is really focused on whatever stuff. It's all about the stuff. There's material-focused, composition, like classic rule of thirds and lights and darks composition.
Values and contrast, yep.
Kinesthetic, which means movement. My abstract relies, if you go to my website, it relies very heavily on movement. You can
like the
tell I
movement
made.
ones, yep.
And then there's chance, like accident, you know. And then there's, I'm going to miss one. Then there's image focused abstract
Like
art.
when you abstract out an existing.
But it's like Andy Warhol, Marilyn Monroe. It's not a painting of Marilyn Monroe. He just used that as a base for an abstract painting. Or Robert India, LOVE, you know. Anyway,
It's more like graphic
you
design.
use pictures, but it's not a picture of a picture. It's abstract, just incorporating. And then I'm missing, process oriented.
Okay.
And and then the question is, and I'm missing one, but which one is best, or which one should we use? And my answer is all. Did I say chance? No,
Yes, you
chance.
did, yep.
Okay. Try to incorporate all of them, or as many of them as possible, into one painting. Yeah. So you have some chance, some composition, which I think is really important, no matter what you do.
To have that one anyway.
I think so.
So
See.
that the eye gets attracted regardless.
Yeah. And then kinesthetic. Anyway, all of them.
Where
So
do you think you're going to post it?
on my YouTube channel. They're on it's called community page, where it has still images.
subscribe
I'll
to
try to remember to do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So fun to meet you. All the best to you. And I mean
I'm
that.
sure I'll see you in
I
a
pass
class.
on some good energy for being an artist.
Thank
You go,
for the last
girl.
6 months of just
All the
being-
best to you. Good for you. Good for you. Okay. Okay. Bye bye. Sweet. All right. My either second or third layer of pencil now. At least second, maybe third. I can't remember. And again, for anybody who's new watching this, you should be able to discern from the way that I'm moving that even though I'm using pencils, accurate drawing is not my number one concern when using these pencils. And forgive me, you old timers. You get tired of me saying the same thing over and over. Well, that's because you're an old timer. Okay, dry cleaners. I had one of my dear fellow artists came by today, local artist here in Raleigh, and she said it's a shame that this beautiful little building is a dry cleaner. I agree completely. It ought to be, as she said, it ought to be an art gallery. It's a charming little building. And just for what it's worth, I was, of course, taking pictures at this building. Well, hey, David. I'm responding to your comments from way many minutes ago, David, finally. I think you are correct. There's no building in the upper left. I think that'll get clearer as I go along, and I don't blame anybody for not being able to tell in the early stages what some of these things are. I was starting to say something, now I forgot what it was. Doesn't matter. Oh, again, just talking about the pencil, usage of the pencil. It's there more for texture. In fact, I have not said this yet. I had a bit of a discovery, a self-discovery, not too many days ago, weeks perhaps, I can't remember. You know, Richard Schmid, who's one of the great, I would say, living American masters. He's over 80, I'm sure. He's been a master for a long time, and I have his book, $132. I think I paid for his book. That's an expensive book. Anyway, I like his stuff, of course, and he talks. He's the first one that I became aware of, where I really became aware of this term that he calls edge control. Now, and this was a couple years ago when I was reading his book, once I tuned in to that term, then of course, then I hear that term being used by a lot of people. So it's not unique to him by any means. But his book made me aware. I don't remember ever hearing it like in college or anything like that. I'm sure they talked about something like it, but didn't use that term, edge control. And what he's referring to is proper balance. Another better word would be proper energy in a painting. Not too many hard edges, not too many soft edges, not too many soft, not too many hard. I say it in a crazy way, twice, backwards and forwards. Edge control. And indeed, one of the things that really appeals to me with Richard Schmid's paintings, even though he's very, very, very serious about soft edges, as opposed to my paintings, one of the things I like about Richard Schmid's and go, man, I'd like, is actually his hard edges. Okay, since I'm on the subject, I'll stay with it just for a minute. One of the reasons that Richard Schmid has a gritty texture. That's the word I like to use. Compared to me, his paintings almost look gritty, and a part of the reason for that is he does not paint transparent per se. That's a slight, anyway, never mind. I'm just going to let that lay there for now because I don't want to take that detour. He advocates painting straight out of the tube. In other words, he doesn't add medium to his paints. He just paints straight out of the tube. So his paints, of course, are much thicker. I use a lot of liquid, so my paints are goopy, right? So the goopiness compared to his grittiness, I'm really attracted to his grittiness, but couldn't figure out, it wasn't working for me. And just a couple weeks ago, I had an aha moment, the way you do as an artist. You stay engaged and keep thinking. I went, oh my goodness, the pencils, for me, it's not at all the technique that Richard Schmid is using, but I discovered that the pencils are in fact have become a major element in my edge control. That is, the pencils are adding the grittiness to my paintings that they wouldn't have if I didn't use the pencils. And that's again, I think that's a really good description of what's happening when I use these pencils. I'm adding grit, texture to the painting, and I think the pencils are the biggest single evolutionary development in my painting in the last 2 years, say. When I look back at my old paintings, I have some paintings that are nice. Thank goodness, I'm not embarrassed of all of them. But when I look back at my old paintings, I go, you know, it would be better if it had some pencil in it. and what I'm enjoying about the pencil, when I say that, is the grit, the scratchiness. So kind of funny. It's like, how about that? So I just kept, as an artist, just kept pushing and experimenting and practicing and trying something new. And little by little, you know, I finally got the grit that I want, but not at all the way Richard Schmid does. I got the grit that I wanted by introducing these pencils. All right, so I'm technically, officially, I could do a fuzz layer. Think about it. You know what? I think I'm not going to. There's already a lot of softness in the painting, a lot of softness in my light. I'm going, if I want fuzz, now I think I'm just going to try to bring it into the painting during the final edit. So I'm ready to start. Final edit. So I'm thinking. Thinking is a good thing. Thinking is a good idea. I just saw something I want to fix before I think I'll try to do this with one brush so I don't have to dirty two brushes. I want a little bit more of I want a shadow coming across the face of this building right here at an angle. You regulars, right? I do solemnly swear and all that. I do solemnly swear that I will never paint a flat plane again in a flat manner, especially like a building. You will put a diagonal. That could become a cheesy cliche, I know, but until you're in danger of making it a cliche, just do it. and then if it becomes a cliche, then back off a little bit. But that angle, that shadow right there, is a significant, in my opinion, a significant element of the design in this painting. Painting with one hand is driving me crazy, just for a few minutes. It's a few minutes for me to drive myself crazy painting with one hand. All right, now, final edit. 3 options, well, or 4. Since I didn't do a fuzz layer, there's actually 4 options for the final edit. One is start with the lightest, brightest, whitest thing, which in this scene is the faces of these 3 buildings, here, here, and here. They're all white buildings, and we have sun coming from the right. So that's the lightest, brightest, whitest. There's going to be a patch right here, as you can already tell, that's pretty bright, but not as bright as those. Also, the sky up here should be pretty pale, right up there. That's one option, start with the lightest area. Option number 2 is start at the focal point, which in this case is going to be this building right here. The building with the windows and the more detail and a diagonal right there. So that would be another place to start. Third option would be traditional, start with the farthest away object, the sky, and move forward. Fourth object, since I didn't do a fuzz layer, fourth option for where do I start the final edit is if there's any part of the painting, significant area of the painting that I need to shift toward representational or realistic color. And in this case, that could be like these trees and these bushes down here. I want them to be dark green, and they're not green at all yet. And maybe some of these trees up here need to be brighter orange. But let me sit down actually and think for just a moment. I'll expand my camera so you can see me sit and think. By the way, before I'll say, you've heard me speak often, perhaps you regulars have heard me talk often about a chameleon car or camouflage car, and indeed that's already happening to a significant degree down here. What that means is a car that's up close. This happens in cityscapes a lot. I need a car here because without it, this would be all a great big empty expanse, and that wouldn't do. But I don't want the car to be prominent, so I make it the same color. In fact, as I finish it, I'm going to actually push it down visually, make it even less contrasty than it is right now. But it's already, you can see whatever color this is, bluish green here, same color that's through the car, bluish green, all, and light up here, light up there. So that car is already kind of well on the way to where I want it to go. Still thinking. You know, funny, I think I want to start with the sky. A little bit unusual. There is another circumstance, element at work here today, and that is the temperature has taken a decided nosedive in the last half hour, and it's almost getting, with a steady breeze. The wind chill is probably 38 degrees right now, something like that, I would guess, and it's almost getting into shiver zone. So I don't feel like I have the patience or the concentration to I don't trust myself to paint like this building right here, because I just feel a little too nervous energy, shivery, literally shivery because of the cold. I'm not quite shivering, but I don't feel settled, if you know what I mean. So, can I go higher, or am I all the way up? Oh, I guess I'm all the way up. All right. Ah, that blue's too blue. Let me dirty that blue up a little bit with some Naples yellow, so turning it considerably toward a green. Right? Everybody knows that the closer a blue sky gets to the horizon, it gets lighter. I say everybody knows that, right? If you're a painter, you've heard that before. Sky gets lighter, but of course it also gets warmer or less blue as it approaches the horizon. I don't like that color very much. Let's try adding some ultramarine to that, which is counterintuitive. Normally, ultramarine would not be the color you'd put close to the horizon, because that's deep blue sky. Straight up blue sky is ultramarine, or close to it. Down lower, it's more like a phthalo blue. Nope, that's not right either. That's too dark. By the way, it's always good for some of you guys, if there's any early journey painters watching me, it's really good for you to see me messing up or struggling to mix the right color. Because I know that many of you, when you mix the wrong color, you start berating yourself and thinking all kinds of negative things about yourself and that you're no good, blah, 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 because you think that expert professional painters never do that. Well, maybe some don't, but no, that's normal. The human eye is utterly incapable. Listen to me, the human eye is, in spite of what you think about some big shot painters, and I hope you haven't had a teacher that tried to convince you that they always got the color exactly right. That teacher was not doing you a service. The human eye is utterly incapable of discerning color apart from context. In other words, we can't see what color a color is apart from what that color is next to, what it's beside. So when we're mixing colors, when I'm mixing a color over there to my right on my palette, and I think I've got the right color, and then I come and bring my brushes over here to my painting and put it down and go, egads! It's not right at all. It's no shame, no embarrassment, blah, blah, that's stupid. Just, of course it's not right. It takes a while, so I hope you understand that. I'm thinking right now about last night's class where I taught how to paint trees. And in fact, the question came up late in the class because we did a painting of a rather close-up tree, and a very reasonable question was asked. Well, but what happens when the trees are like this, farther away? Well, I hope some of you from my students from last night are watching this, because in fact, I am now modeling. It's exactly the same rules, exactly the same process, just not quite as much detailed since it's further away, that's all. We talked for quite a while, of course, about these things that are traditionally called sky holes, which of course I say ought to be called tree holes. In this painting, it turns out that they really are sky holes because it's sky behind the tree. But in many, well, down here when I paint these crepe myrtles down here, those won't be sky holes, they'll be building holes. Anyway, so they should be called tree holes, I think. Anyway, and one of the things I teach regularly, whenever I teach anything about painting trees, if anybody gave you the impression that sky holes were easy, they were not doing you a service. Sky holes are not easy because you're trying to paint a tree, something that looks like a tree, in the negative. So don't be ashamed if you've tried to do some tree holes and they ended up looking, or what somebody on my channel, one of my regulars many months ago, coined the term sky dots. Sky holes poorly executed become sky dots. I'm just about tired of doing tree holes. So I'm actually going to leave that. I'm going to do a little bit more. I'm going to leave it shortly, unfinished. Come back and do more of it later. That's a strategy for painting, or in a sense, keeping your nose to the grindstone or keeping your nose to the canvas, as this may be. You don't have to finish. You don't have to be OCD about it. Your mother is not watching you. It's okay for you to paint something for a while and then you get kind of tired of it. Leave it. So I'm going to come back and do more sky later. Oh, and it's well past 3 o'clock, so it's officially time for me to quit anyway, isn't it? And I'm fighting a little bit, seeing my painting without sun hitting me in the eye. Okay, I'm going to do just a little bit more before we go, okay? And that is some of the orange trees. So I'm mixing up a nice warm yellow. No, I just changed it to orange for sure. Nice and very intense orange. I just want to do a little bit. Can you see this orange tree that's already there? And that was all done in the underpainting. Okay, and for those of you who may be trying to emulate my technique, the orange is already there. So not only would it be redundant for me to paint this opaque orange oil paint on top of what's already there, would be a waste of time and energy. It would be worse than that because the paint that is on my brushes right now is essentially an opaque, you know, it's thick enough, it's got white in it, it's essentially an opaque orange, right? Opaques are never as rich or pretty or attractive or interesting, any of those words will do, never as rich, interesting, or attractive as transparent colors. The orange that was there was transparent, and what I'm doing now is opaque. So I'm just painting around, just here and there, around the edges, not on top of what's already there. So I don't know if you can see, there's little bits of orange, dark orange, dark reddish stuff in there. Very interesting, visually very fascinating, and you don't want to lose that stuff. So there, I just painted, you know, made it look, again, looking at the photograph frequently, I just made it look more like that, the actual tree that is there. No need, going to change this color slightly, hang on just a second, add some green to it actually. No need to reduplicate. If the color that you want is already there on the canvas because of the acrylic layers and the oil glaze that's on top of it, then do not ruin it by painting on top. This is the number one mistake that students make when they're trying to employ my technique, when they're trying to be influenced by me. Far and away, the number one mistake they make is they cover up too much of the underpainting. Far and away the most common mistake that they make, because they fall back into their old habits and they start painting like their natural self. They just start painting in their normal native tongue, so to speak. And what is hard about painting in the Dan Nelson technique is keeping this opaque layer very limited. So I'm doing the same thing here. See, a lot of what was underneath already was close. Not only is it close enough, it's close enough and it's more attractive than the opaque stuff that I'm putting on right now. And by the way, just for what it's worth, that's why, especially in the last year, now that I've turned a corner in my journey and I'm taking more time in my paintings than I used to, that's why even when I finish the final edit layer, like here, like I've done there, a little bit of sky in there and there, even when I finish it, the painting's not done. I'll wait till that's dry, which will be tomorrow, and then do glaze over this opaque stuff that I'm putting out. So then all of a sudden what is today a little bit boring because of its opacity, after tomorrow will be rendered more interesting again, because I will turn it transparent. I'll put transparent color on top of it. And then you may ask, and then typically again I do opaque on top of that transparent. Does that make sense? So right now, final edit is light opaque highlights generally. That's what I'm doing. Then it's dry, glaze the whole thing, any colors I want. And then I do more light opaque highlights, but fewer than this time. Like if on this layer, I'll spend 2.5 hours doing light opaque highlights, then, you know, tomorrow or day or whatever, next time I do this painting, I might spend 40 minutes doing the next layer of highlights. I'm going to shift this color again a little bit more green to it. So I have get this, a greenish orange, or a very, very, very warm pale green on my brushes. I think only a fellow artist could understand what is meant by a greenish orange or an orange-ish green. Either one, I'll take either one. I'm only going to do a few more minutes here before I start packing up. I have a couple 100 pounds of equipment, as you can see here, to get all packed up in my van. I'm being awfully careful right now, and I need to be careful not to be too careful. I don't want to continue to paint with the same degree of fussiness that I've been painting for the last several minutes here and here. This is close to the focal point, so I'm okay with that. But as I move out here, I'm going to get messier in these tree shapes. Okay. So I want to do anything else before I leave. I do actually, just a little bit. Hey, Aiden Burns, new comment. Thank you for speaking up. About 3 to 4 years ago, I watched your cross-hatching video and learned how to do my art watching your stuff. Oh my goodness. Is there any way I could show you what I do? I'm hoping to go to art school. Aiden, indeed. I hope you're still listening. Indeed, there is, of course. It shouldn't be hard to find me. You know my name, Dan Nelson. So if you just do a Google search for Dan Nelson Art, not on YouTube, but on Google or whatever, Dan Nelson Art, you'll see real quickly which one is me, and you'll have there my email address. So yeah, many people from my YouTube channel here over the years, many people over the years have sent me emails, and we're in email communication. So absolutely, Aiden, please do send me your stuff, and I would love to talk with you about the prospect of art school. Okay, I hope you're listening. Hope you got that message. I'd be glad to talk to you. Can I bring you guys in any closer? I can, just a little bit. Am I in the right place? Yeah. In fact, I'm gonna just before I go, just a real quick little specific lesson, visual lesson. So this is going to be. There's a red, and this is in the photograph. There's a real bright red fall tree here, and a yellow one here. But you see this green dash right there, and then it continues down here and goes down here. That is, there's a word I'm looking for, I'm not finding it. That's a vestige, vestigial, leftover. That's a leftover from the oil stick that I rubbed randomly across the canvas before I did the glaze. So that green, whoops, hang on, sorry, are you still pointing the right direction? Yep. That green is abstract and random. It's not there because of representational or realistic. It's not a realistic mark. It's purely abstract. Now, because it's in a tree, but it's in the middle of a red tree. So anyway, the point I want to make is this is real typical of me, and I'm just bringing you real close for just a moment. It would be a shame, in my opinion, in my world of painting, it would be a shame to obliterate that little green dash under the pretense of realism. That's, well, there's no green in the photograph there, so we should get rid of that. Of course there's no green in the photograph there. It wasn't put there for representational reasons. But as a matter of fact, now, and I could say, well, I don't want it all there. So yeah, so I can do, different things. I can scratch it, scrape it, paint over it somewhat, and so on and so forth. But I just want to point out that things like accidents like that. Now, right now it looks kind of like a tree hole, so I'm going to modify it a little bit. But just that little speck of green, It's beautiful. I say often, and I mean this very literally, I am not smart enough to paint good. Forgive the grammar, English majors, sit on your hands. I'm not smart enough to paint good, but I am smart enough to spot some good painting when I see it. See, that's why I lose the parallelism if I use proper grammar. I'm not smart enough to paint well, but I'm smart enough to spot well painting, spot good painting when I see it. You see my conundrum. So that's my story, and I'm, sticking with it. This car over here, since I've got red on my brushes, this car is going to be red, a red car. I did that on purpose. In the photograph, it's red, but it's red because I put it there in Photoshop. It's just an intentional car. Same thing over here. I have another red car. Am I still on? Yeah, I'm barely on the camera, aren't I? And I'm just using up red paint right now since it's on my brushes. Both of those cars, again, are strategically, intentionally red in color. That was not an accident. That was thoughtful, thought out. Might have been wrong. That might be a why. It might not be a. I'm not saying it's a brilliant choice. But I'm just saying it was an intentional choice. I think it was a reasonable decision. All right. It's getting cold out here, and people are going home. Everybody's packing up. So I'm going to do the same thing. I thank you guys, all of you, for your company and your questions and your comments and your chat. Aiden, I look forward to hearing from you. And hopefully my client will like this painting, in which case I'll get paid for it. That's always a good thing. And Art of the Carolinas 2019. This is the 19th annual AOC. Next year will be a big 20, so I'm sure they'll have some kind of special celebration going on then. And thank you for your company. Bye-bye.